Shazam, issue 5, Mark Waid writing with Dan Mora on the art. And this was the conclusion to this little mini arc we've had of the Moon and Gargo the Emperor, Ted the Gorilla. We'll talk about Ted.
Yeah.
Goddamn Ted. What a loser. I think what's interesting about this is that throughout this book so far, the first 4 issues, it kind of just neatly avoided talking about Mary that much. So I was kind of waiting, like, okay, when's it going to be addressed, though, that Mary still has powers because she's got powers from the Amazon gods? And sure enough, this is the issue where she comes swooshing in to save it. Because the cliffhanger from last issue was Billy with no powers floating through space and dying. But, you know, the red whoosh comes in, it's Mary, she saves him, and I love, well, first of all, the page where you see her properly, the art's gorgeous from Mora, but then the next page, she's like, hey, Billy, come on, like, you know, like Shazam up here, but I need you to, like, get back to normal, you're kind of struggling here. And the gods, like, I think it's Mercury, because he's his turn to take control of Billy's next. He's like, hey, Zeus, wake this little child up, don't let him die, it's my turn, damn it. And he's like, the rules are, the word has to be spoken. And then it cuts to Mary, and Mary says, okay, goddesses, I'm not saying this for me, I'm saying it for him. And she says Shazam, and then darts out the way. And it just cuts to Zeus, and he's like, aye, that'll do.
Close enough.
Close enough.
Yeah.
And he's I thought that was hilarious.
Yeah, the page before where he's got it cocked ready to go and being like, yeah, the rules is the rules. And then when he does throw it, and it's like, yeah, close enough.
Yeah, I love the idea that technically it shouldn't really count because Billy's not the one saying it, but the idea that it just cuts to Zeus going like, aye, close enough. Zap. I don't know.
Well,
I just thought it was
and I know
funny.
you're not big on mythology. This is more of a conversation with Connor. That's kind of Zeus in the mythologies too. You know, him being like, I know what the rules are, but I'm Zeus. I do what I want. So that kind of goes in with there too. And then Mercury just looking like a proper scumbag down at the bottom.
Oh yeah,
you know,
that's
looking
smart.
more like Loki than anything. So
yeah, so obviously there's some action here. The Queen Bee wants her. What's the device? What's the big MacGuffin? The generator.
It's like a warp drive.
A warp drive. That
thing.
was it. Yeah. It was some sort of thing like that. And Emperor Gargo is like, "Oh, you're using me, dear. I'm not going to give that over." And she's like, "No, please. I'll make you proper size again." And he's like, "No, you go off to the dungeons with you." But Billy's acting like a shit because Mercury's controlling him. So he's been really juvenile. He's pantsing gorillas. He's doing all sorts of things, right?
I love it.
And then he says to Emperor Gargo that, hey, I use my X-ray vision. I know where your warp drive is. And I actually paused and went, I didn't think Shazam had X-ray vision. And then sure enough, a page later, he's like, oh no, I tricked you. I don't have any X-ray vision. I just said that so you think I knew where it was. It turns out he was hiding it in his body. He opens his jaw ultra wide and vomits it up. It is disgusting. And Mary and Billy react appropriately. The arts there is really good. Both in the visual of this head, kind of like the jaw almost going completely flat. That's how open it is. And then like
people watching, have you ever seen Anaconda? Remember the end of Anaconda when it throws up John Voight? That's what this is.
Kinda, I guess, but you see like all the green skin kind of wrinkling up as it kind of it's really good stuff. And Billy and Mary don't want to touch it, which actually leads to one of my favorite laughs that I had this issue, and I was laughing a lot in this issue. It's so Billy and Mary are fighting whoever, right? Emperor Queen Bee shows up and starts getting involved again, and the gorillas are just running around, and basically they're saying, let's get back to Earth before this tears us all apart. And it's like, does anyone know where the warp drive is? And Ted the gorilla is just looking at it. It just finds it lying on the ground because it was left there from the previous couple pages. And he says, Mother of God, fellas, we're back in business. And I laugh, like, I can't believe how much Mark Waid has made me a mark, no pun intended, for this gorilla named Ted, and every other gorilla treating him like shit. Because I was cackling every single time someone yelled the name Ted in this.
Yep. Well, because Ted seems like a mess up. And the fact that he made it this far, right, and then it just falls right back into his lap. And then we get the image of the gorillas carrying this thing, right, on the surface of the moon. is another one that got me good.
It's a couple pages later, and Ted is the one who trips, obviously.
It eats, yeah.
Yeah. Meanwhile, the other kids are at the Rock of Eternity with the dinosaur with the top hat. The
legalese Tyrannosaurus.
Yes, that's the one. And the monocle. Don't forget the monocle.
Yep, don't forget the monocle.
And they're basically, okay, how can we help Billy, even though we don't have powers? And they're talking about missing having powers, but they're trying to figure things out. But they notice that Freddy disappears, and that's a little setup for the ending. So Mary actually figures this all out, right? So the other kids know what's happening with the gods because Freddy found out, right?
Yep.
But Mary, when she's witnessing Billy be a complete little shithead to Emperor Gargo and, like, you know, covering him and what was it he's doing? Yeah, he's basically saying, what should I do, like a super wedgie or what? And Mary's like, wait a minute, you acted like reckless, you know, like Hercules. You acted arrogant. Yeah, like Solomon. And she sort of puts it all together. I don't know if I have laughed as much at a comic than I did the bottom of this page in quite some time, which is she puts this all together and says, that's it, the gods, they're controlling you. And then you just get this panel at the bottom of the page with all the gods just with their eyes all wide open, and I think it's Zeus just says rats. And I was like, this look in their face, like they all went, oh shit, she's clocked it. She knows.
Just the point that they thought they were going to get away with everything, right? Because Billy isn't he's not the most observant, right? So of course he's not going to notice, you know, different controllers, whatever. So the fact that they didn't think anyone else was going to notice, that's what all of those faces are. And even Achilles, who you can't see his face, he looks very much like Ares, right? Even his eyes are wide underneath that helm, you know. It's a very good image.
It's very good stuff. It's the art nailing it. The writing here is just pitch perfect funny. This is Mark Waid firing on all goddamn cylinders. I love this issue, and I think what makes sense about this to me as well is that Mary does have her own wisdom from her other gods that she's getting her powers from. She's not sharing the same pool of gods anymore with Billy. So it makes some sense that another character like that, who's part of her power set, is this extra wisdom. I don't know if they've mapped out what gods are giving her what powers from the Amazons, but
I don't either. But I'm going to look it up while we're talking.
Of course you are.
Because they mention one of them, and it's the Z, right? That's like Zephyrus. So.
Is it literally going to spell out Shazam again? I assume it is because she still says that.
She still says Shazam, so you would think because Black Adams do, and they're all Egyptian gods that they adapted. So
true. I love this idea that now that Mary's finally in this main Shazam book, and we're going to like really prop her up as this other hero with powers that has the full set, especially since she is the one who can do it. Anyway, so. Yep. The gorillas are carrying the warp drive, and Ted trips. They drop the warp drive, and it spins up into power, and then the moon starts to spin uncontrollably, and you just see another gorilla yell, "Ted!" And that made me laugh so much. He almost ruined, he almost destroyed the moon, which would probably do hell knows what to Earth's like tidal waves and everything else. But basically Billy has to try and stop the moon from spinning, so he just kind of like grabs onto it, uses his powers, and you know, simple enough. Whilst Mary deals with all of the gorillas and the debris and all that flying off of it. All interesting stuff, but again, really good, big, cosmic, super fun. And
so reading this and the Ted stuff, I just immediately, you know, Ted is the Connor of the apes, because how they're yelling at him is how you yell at him. So, you know, but yeah, that was very funny.
So the final scene is the gods basically saying, okay, what do we do now that he's figured things out? We also let him share the powers with his family for some time. What do we do? And then Billy shows up, and he's in kid form, right? He's no longer in Shazam form. And basically says, like, enough of this shit. If you're going to control me, then I don't want the powers. Take them away. You'll have no champion on Earth. And they're like, hey, we won't let you share your powers with anyone anymore, right? We'll make it so you can never do that again. And Billy's and because they're basically trying to guilt him by saying, hey, if you give up the powers, then they'll never have powers again, and you'll be depriving them of that. And then the cliffhanger is that what's his face, Freddy comes in and says, if he doesn't want the powers, then I do. And it's like a betrayal face on Billy at the end. So we might be seeing Billy Shazam, Freddy Shazam next issue.
Freddy, which I guess he would be the Captain Junior, so we call him CJ instead of Captain Marvel Junior.
Something tells me he's not going to want to go by that name, but maybe Mark Waid will make it work somehow.
Yeah.
No, it's interesting. It is kind of funny how we're doing like Billy and then into Mary and then Freddy. So it'll be the original three that had powers once upon a time that will have had powers in this run, and then eventually you'll probably get to the whole family having powers again. But I do think that's kind of interesting that he's sort of worked it around that way.
Well, and also Freddy was the one that was, duped into being a spy for the gods, right? So it might be a little bit personal. I don't know. Maybe he's got something up his sleeve. Freddy's a pretty loyal friend and brother to Billy. So
I don't know. It looks like he's betraying him here. He's taking all the power for himself.
Maybe. So I found what Mary's new Shazam is.
Oh, go on.
And it is the agility of Selena, the strength of Hippolyta, the stamina of Artemis, the flight of Zephyrus, the invulnerability of Aurora, and the wisdom of Minerva. So they're all very similar. Stamina, strength, agility. Let's see. One of them's might, I think. So yeah, but wisdom's there. So they're they're all the same. So good on the creatives for still making Shazam work with those.
Yeah, that's interesting.
Goddesses. So. But yeah, man, Dan Moore's art here too. Just the face of Billy here at the end. Not the last panel, but as he's looking over at Freddy when Freddy says, "I'll take the powers."
Yeah.
Very, very, very good Dan Moore art there.
Yeah, no, the art throughout is fantastic. And again, he's getting to do all this crazy stuff. He's got moons spinning. He's got Mary and Billy using their powers. He's got the gorillas. He's got Queen Bee Gargoyle. We've got a T-Rex with a monocle and a top hat. Yeah. Like, he's got such a variety of crazy things to draw, and he makes it all work. And so does Waid. Waid, like, bounces between these crazy ideas, legitimately funny stuff, and also big superheroics. Like, that's stopping the moon spinning was a big Superman style moment, and it felt just as big as that as it should have done without it being taken away from the fact that we've got all these funnier stuff surrounding it. The fact that it happens because that screw up Ted decided to trip and drop the warp drive, it's just, it all works. I was laughing constantly. I think this run was good immediately, but it's really clicking now a few issues in where it's like, okay, like I'm getting the flow of this, I'm getting the vibe of it. Like, I enjoy World's Finest a lot, but I think this is the Mark Waid book at DC right now.
Yeah, it kind of balances that silliness with the superhero action very, very well. So I'm glad to have Mark Waid back.
You say that every time we talk about a Mark Waid book, Matt.
I know. It's still true.
It's been 2 years.
Has it really been 2 years?
It's probably close to it by now.
Oh my goodness. Well, I'm so happy.
I mean, World's Finest is up to it's in the mid-teens at least by now.
That's true.
So it's been a year and a half at least, yeah.
Well.
So.
But yeah, it's because, like, even stuff when Gargo is like, I miss dealing with the Doom Patrol. Stuff like that.
I got a chuckle out of that.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, that's good.
So, but yeah.
All right, okay. Well, there you go. What are you rating Shazam issue 5?
8.5.
Yeah, I go with a 9 on this one. I really like this one.
There you
go. So that's that from me.
Mm-hmm.